Hello, this is Steve from Spitzblog, and this is going to be the first in a series of videos I'd like to call suburban bushcrafting. Sometimes we can't all get out into the wilderness, but we can find some time around the house, either suburban or urban or apartments or whatever, and I like to go through and as David Wendell from Bushcraft on Fire says, own the skills. So this is an opportunity I found just here during the middle of a work week to get some yucca that I had around and cut some leaves and try making some cordage, both of green yucca as well as some dried leaves. Some of the cordage I previously made based on watching some videos on YouTube is just a twine, a jute twine cordage. That was my kind of proof of concept that I used to go through and practice and kind of get the technique down, and that worked really well for the first time. It held together well, it's strong, it's durable, it's consistent thickness. It was a real good practice exercise. But I decided I wanted to try something a little bit different using some of the landscape elements I have around here, around the yard. I've tried using some ornamental grasses, both the leaves and the ribbing within the leaves, and they did all right. The leaves kind of shredded as I would twist them, so that didn't work real well, but the ribbing of them worked pretty well, but they weren't very strong under stress. So I went ahead and got some yucca that I had around, cut a few leaves off of that, and then, like I said, I gathered up some of the dry leaves that were on the underside of the plant, and we're going to go and try making some cordage out of both of those and see how those both work, how they are as far as working, as well as how they hold up as far as strength afterwards. What I did here was I made last night, I went ahead and tested a piece. I made it smaller strips, and it held up pretty well, wrapped very well, but at times it seemed a little bit weak. So I went ahead in the second attempt, went ahead and made it a little bit thicker, and it holds up real nice and tight, holds together well, twists well, and it works real good. So that's what I like to go through and just kind of show, an armchair bushcrafter's early attempts of learning the skill. So, thanks. To start, I'm going to go ahead and take one of the green pieces. I'll take my knife, and I'm going to cut these into some strips. I like to make my strips about 1/4 inch thick, if possible. Trying to keep them nice and consistent if possible. The outside of the leaves I like to keep a little thicker. When I get to the ribbing, I will try to keep that as a thin, consistent stripe as well. That's going to work a little bit harder, but when it twists and binds in the cordage, it's going to be nice and strong and give it some good rigidity to the cord. Still leaving it flexible, just giving it more strength, I think. I get 4 pieces out of this. And this is just going to be kind of a demonstration. I'm not going to make a lot. Just Midwest yard right here up in the Great Lakes region. So I know I've seen some of the other stuff, and they were able to pull fibers that look like threads practically, but just from playing around with this here in the last couple days, I haven't been able to get that kind of separation on this. So maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'll keep practicing with it and I'll get a better idea of how to do that. So basically I'm going to go ahead and start with the piece and twist it around. I noticed that if I twist it and try to keep the flat without binding over itself, it doesn't seem to separate. So I'm just going to twist until it buckles onto itself. And then I'll use the wrapping over. And I just kind of take my time, and if I don't get a good twist, I'll untwist it and retwist and try to keep it consistent. Even if I look at it and if I see that I find myself wrapping as opposed to braiding, I will undo it a little bit and correct it right then and there. I noticed from my practices last night that if I didn't, and I got too far away from that would be a weak point. I could feel that it's weak, and it was kind of late, shy of unbraiding the whole thing to go back and address. So, but that's pretty much it, and it holds up real nice and tight. Sometimes you can hear it cracking in there. Sometimes if I hear where I've got an existing piece that's starting to crack a little bit, I'll take that opportunity, go back one wrap, and then go ahead and start working in a thin piece of another or a medium-sized piece of another. And then that'll help possibly eliminate that weak spot. So, hope this shows well with the limited lighting that I have here, the sunlight. I'm working at the porch because it's real windy and the microphone will pick a lot of that up, so I opted to do it here on the screen porch today. And you can see it splitting again, so let's go through and add another piece in. And here I'll add a little thicker one. And I'll go back later and cut off those end pieces, those tags. So just do a nice wrap or two over, wrap or two over, pull back with the other finger, and pinch it with my thumb to keep it nice and tight. And that's what I end up with. So I'll go ahead and then I'll go back in. Cut my tags off. Okay, there we go. Nice piece of cordage. That's working with green yucca. Now we'll go ahead and give it a try with the dried yucca. Here for the dry yucca, I have dry yucca leaves. I have some that still have a little bit of green to them. They still have some elasticity. So I'm going to opt not to use those at this time. I'd rather go with something that's a little drier, a little more brittle, and see how that holds up. Because if that's all I have to work with, I need to know. I know how easy it is to work with green. We'll see how easy it is to work with dry, and then figure middle would be somewhere in between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same that I did with the other, with the green. So I'll go ahead and separate. I found that instead of just pulling them, sometimes if I would go through and try pulling the strands apart, they would quickly break off to the side, at least with this yucca that I'm using here today. So I opt to either cut it or at least start it, depending on where I am in the piece and how thick of a piece I'm making. Here's some separating already on its own. And I'll leave those nice and wide. This is just something I have around the house to tie up electric cords and garden hoses I put away for the winter. So that's the, you see it's dry, but it's starting to crumble apart on itself. So let's see how that goes. See if I can get it to twist on itself without breaking first. Oh, there it goes. Not pretty, but real gentle with it here. Twist. No, there it goes. It breaks through. That didn't work real well. So here's a thicker piece. This is the piece that has the ribbing from the center of that leaf. Oh yeah, that has a lot better feel to it. And I'm no professional. I've only made 2.5 feet of cordage altogether, including the twine. So, I know some of the guys rip through cordage like it's second nature. This is a true amateur's attempt here, so I'm going to take that for what it is and trial and error. If you don't try, you don't know. So, it's working better and tighter and cleaner than the green yucca. Just go nice and slow, trying to be consistent. Up here I get a weak point, so I would go ahead and unwrap that a twist or two and add in my next piece. This piece here. And same thing, I try to keep my, it's starting to shred on me a little bit too, so let me go a little bit further down. I'll try wrapping it over the other one and see how that works. Oh yeah, that gives me better feel. Oh, that one separated out. So those leaves, while the same length, they're a lot more brittle off towards those ends, and that middle piece seems to be where the strength is. So that's what I have. It's a piece of dry yucca. Braids nice and tight, consistent. Samples with some green and some samples with some dry yucca from Midwest USA. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment. I appreciate your time and thank you very much.